Grunt.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Macon-Bibb County public hearing for the fiscal 2025 budget. This is the opportunity that we take to listen to citizens on any remarks they'd like to make about the budget. This is not a question and answer session, so we're not treated as that. Because we are not intending to increase the millage rate, instead we're decreasing the millage rate, this is the only hearing that's required, and this will be for a final vote on June the 18th, which is 2 weeks from today. So I'd like to welcome everyone here. We're going to review the slides that we went over back 2 weeks ago on the budget, recommended budget from the mayor's office. And I'll start going through these one by one. And then at the end of that, if we have somebody who signed up to speak, we'll let them speak. Otherwise, we'll move forward with our regular scheduled meeting today. So at the beginning, you will notice that the proposed budget history from 2021 to 2025. At the bottom, you'll see the 2022 budget of approximately $174,000, moving through a proposed budget for 2025 around $211 million. At the same time, in the top right corner, you'll notice in fiscal 2021, we had a millage rate, which is our tax rate, separate and distinct from the school system, of 20.331. Each year, you'll see a noticeable decrease, partly because we didn't set the rollback, partly because we decreased the tax, and also because of the OLOST. You'll come up in 2025, which is the proposed millage rate that I am requesting of 9.9 for the millage rate. It goes below the 10, and then we'll revisit that rate at the time we have our tax digest completed. Next slide. Some of our focus areas that we continue to talk about is public safety. Public safety, as you can see, all across the board, this has our fire, our sheriff, our EMA. This is considered public safety. You will notice the increase year over year for public safety, and you can see what percentage this represents in our entire budget. Over the last 4 years, we've increased public safety funding by almost $16 million. This year, fiscal 2025, you'll see $91,516. That includes the projected raises and salary increases, as well as incentive pay for our public safety. Next slide. Proposed beautification, you'll notice that we did have an emphasis on beautification over the last several years. We started out with the 2021 budget of $2.4 million, and this year our projected proposed budget for fiscal 2025 is $4.6 million, which is a total increase of about $2.2 million. Some of that's employees, some of that's contract services, but you can see the increase overall from 21 to 25. Next slide. Proposed budget for recreation, similar discussion there. In 2021, we had $4.6 million. In 2022, we increased that amount to $5.3 million, and now in fiscal year 2025, we're just over $7 million proposed budget recreation, which includes salaries raises and some new programming. Next slide. Pedestrian safety. This is a new item that was added after 2021. As you can see, each year we put money in the budget for pedestrian safety that we are making some valuable changes there. Still a slow process, but we're working along with our Pedestrian Safety Review Board. 2021-22, we did some initial funding of $100,000. Each year since that date, including this year, my proposal is for $500,000. We did hire someone to be the director of that, and they're making valuable recommendations to us, and we're utilizing some of these funds to make the changes that are necessary to help keep our streets safer. And we're also working in conjunction with GDOT to either apply for grants and also to work through some low-hanging fruit that we have in our challenge areas. Next slide. This is the proposed budget for economic development. We've seen $1 billion in economic development in the last several years. including almost 1,500 jobs. That's 1,100, 1,200 jobs that are newly created, up to the additional amount would be retained jobs. The good thing about that is I believe the last estimates that we received, that new jobs being created, the average salary is $53,000 to $74,000, including the last business that we just announced last week, First Quality Products out there at the airport, 600 jobs, several $100 million in expansion there, 400-something million, and the average salary is $74,000, which takes some higher paying jobs and a little bit lower for that $74,000 average. But the increase there is for economic development is $4.5 million. That's largely in account for funding of the Urban Development Authority, Industrial Authority, and the like. And we've seen valuable value from that increased budget. So this is the proposed budget timeline that we've talked about before. I presented this budget back on May the 13th. That was the proposed budget that we just reviewed tonight. June the 4th, which is today, was where our public hearing is. And we're presenting that now for any comments from the public. And then on June the 18th at 6 o'clock is scheduled for a final commission budget. So at this time, if anyone has completed an application to speak tonight, we'll collect those and allow you an opportunity to speak. Otherwise, we'll be moving forward with our regularly scheduled meeting. I don't see that anyone has filled out any paperwork, so we'll begin our meeting, and I have a question already from Commissioner Watkins.
I was curious, in this process, in this subject, and when does the process allow for some discourse or question and answer, or just a deeper dive on stuff like public works or code enforcement or sponsored programs?
I think the discourse started when you started sending all the numerous questions to our staff that they've been answering for you over the last several days and completed. Several other commissioners have followed the process and submitting questions to us that we've been able to get answers back to. We're going to continue to do that process. Hopefully answer everything, and then on June the 18th at our meeting, certainly at that time would be appropriate time to ask any further questions, and you can either vote yes or vote no on that day, or make any amendments that you choose.
So, and I know sometimes, and for me hearing the questions or discourse from other members as well as the public can be beneficial to the entire body. Like, I don't know, like even in the follow-up, you've and I appreciate it, you guys have begun to send me some answers and some data, but now I would like to have an opportunity to do a deeper dive on some of that information and some follow-up discourse, which, and again, it doesn't seem as though there's much opportunity for that. And some of my questions I asked in 2023, I did not get an answer then. I'm asking them almost for a second time now, and your staff has avoided those questions.
Well, I would disagree that we avoided the questions, but you can feel free to ask any questions that you like to. We'll make sure that we meet the qualifications laid out in the charter on what responses we give to you. You can continue to ask questions that this body as government is not responsible for, and we will not be answering those questions. So if you ask something about money collected by the Macon-Bibb County for parking meters, you're going to get the exact answer that you got. That's not a Macon-Bibb County function, and we don't have that information. It's not our responsibility to go get that information.
So just even in that, and it may just help the body as things come up, because we funded parking meters at some point, and your answer seems to be that parking, there's no addressing of income or debt that is in our budget around parking meters, and that just, like, I would like some follow. I can understand you saying it's not in the budget, and I believe you, but where does it go? How does it work? Same thing with the revenues or debts from the Macon Mall, amphitheater, parking, the speeding cameras. These are new programs that have started in the last couple years. And again, I can't flip to any page in the budget book that you provided and learn about them. And when I ask a question, I get a short answer of it's not in the budget book, which I already knew, but I don't get any further direction on how our county works. And again, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I just want to know how the county works and how these new programs work and where they got. And I guess I'm the only one, but I'm curious about that.
You can continue to ask questions, and we'll continue to provide the answers. At some point in time, you can either satisfy yourself or not on whether or not you got sufficient information to render a decision when we vote for it. We're not going to chase every rabbit down a hole that you come up with a question about that we believe is not related to this particular budget. So if you ask questions about Urban Development Authority and all these other authorities that we don't manage their budget, and you want information, it's not our duty to provide you with that information.
And again, at some point in this budget time, even in past years, there was requests from those exact organizations for us to fund stuff. And the answer is now, again, very short and somewhat disrespectful on we're not, like, that's wild. That was a wild situation. But I'll yield because, again, I am in the singular on this, and I find this very disturbing, though.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Commissioner Watkins. At this time, there's no other comments on the budget. This is a decrease, and typically we don't get those types of comments that show up unless you're trying to raise the taxes, and certainly we have not done that since the last time they raised it by 6 mills. So we're going to move on. This is official calling this meeting to order on June 4th, 2004. Time is now 5:12. Our first order of business is calling this to order, which I've just done. The second order of business is going to be the approval of the minutes from May the 7th, 2024 pre-commission meeting. This time I entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Carter. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Wynn. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. We have several new alcohol licenses, some of them for approval and some of them for denial. The first one is the Exxon Food Mart located at 3170 Millerfield Road in Macon, Georgia. Legal does recommend approval of that. They met all the legal and statutory reasons, including the certificate of good standing. You can see the picture there on the screen. At this time, I make a motion to approve. Do we get a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item C is a busy corner located at 885 MLK Boulevard. As you recall, back on May the 7th, there was a failure to submit a completed application, which no lease demonstrating the right to possession from the owner of records. Okay, my bad. Number B, okay. What's that? My bad. Legal recommends approval on the first one, so the second one we go to B. That is, I need my glasses. I think that's Samaz, 2024 LLC, doing business as Samaz, located at 2700 Riverside Drive. I'm not sure, we have a picture of that one as well. There you go. This is another one that legal recommends approval. They meet all the legal and statutory requirements. They've also completed their good standing approval. And at this time, we entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Jones. We have a second. Who's that? Second by Commissioner Lucas. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Now we move on to busy corner. Same information, item C, this license was denied on May the 7th for no lease demonstrating the right of possession from the owner of records and no certificate of good standing, which is required by law. And the applicant did not appeal, so this is a final denial. So this time, we'd like to make a motion to approve the final denial of this license. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Clark, second by Commissioner Wynn. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item 4 is contract and purchase orders. It's a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $164,860 to Fisher Scientific Company for the purchase of SCBA equipment for the fire department to be paid from the 2018 SPLOST Public Safety Fire Upgrade Machinery and Equipment line item. You should receive all the materials in your information that you got already. At this time, I entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Wynn. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Howell. Any discussion? I heard Howell first. I got to listen to my left side over here sometimes. They get jealous over here. You got a second and a 2.5 from Commissioner Jones. So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries will be sent to consent agenda. Item B is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to approve a demolition and site rehabilitation contract with Chris R. Sheridan, doing business as Sheridan Construction, in an amount of $295,787 for demolition of the FBO, fixed base operator, at the Middle Georgia Regional Airport to be paid from the airport fund. As you recall, we took over the FBO there ourselves just several months ago. We have a plan to build a new LPO there that resembles a guitar with other things. But to do so, we must demolish that. So we put out an RFP there. In your materials, you'll see how many people it went out to, how many people applied for it, and who was guaranteed the contract. Commissioner Watkins?
Yeah, I was curious. I know this is a part of an ongoing project. Is there a refresher on the total project cost?
There's no total project cost yet until we put out the RFP. So we anticipate after demolition of this old facility there that we'll put out a request for proposal, and then we'll get the estimated amount there, and then we'll determine what type of financing is needed if we move forward with the project.
Just out of curiosity, why not all of it rolled together in a financing package that included this demolition?
Because the demolition must happen first because of grant purposes that we apply for and because of the money that we have. It's a process that we have to do. At the same time, we had to move this FBO into the offices over there, so we wouldn't be able to have to rent about $1 million worth of trailers and stuff for a while. And then after we do the demolition there, we'll look at the pricing for the other. At the same time, we got a lot of work.
$1 million worth of trailers?
We would have to if we wasn't using the terminal, yes, sir. That was the estimated cost to have temporary location of the FBO for all the time during the construction. But we avoided that cost because we're using the current terminal out there for operations. So anyway, as soon as we get through with the demolition of that, we have Pacero now working on the RFP, and that request for proposal qualifications will be sent out, and then someone will be selected for that project. I had two questions here, Commissioner Lucas and then Commissioner Howell.
Yeah, thank you. I was wondering about salvage. Any materials, how is that handled in these contracts? When someone demolishes a structure that's ours and they're under contract, does the amount of money listed here cover, are they allowed to salvage anything that can be sold or reused, or do we take care of that? How is that handled?
Typically, that's negotiated in the contract. This particular contract, the total price would include them keeping the salvage on the tin and things like that. Otherwise, their price would have been higher. There are other situations, for instance, if we are responsible for demolishing a building, we may separate the steel like we've done before, get value for that. Concrete, if we want to crush that and get value for that. But this particular site, RP was done at the airport themselves, and part of that, the 295 is pretty much an inclusive project.
Okay, so we've already talked with them about the amount of money that the salvage materials would bring.
Them
We've
about
already,
making sure that the 295 included them discarding all the salvage, not us retaining that.
okay.
Otherwise, it would have been more expensive. So typically, we don't get in the salvage business unless we tear down the property ourselves.
Right. Who do we have to check and make sure? I know this is a reputable company and one that we do a lot of business with. We've had a lot of contracts over the years with them, but who ensures that everything's, on the up and up?
We generally use Terracon. Terracon does all of our inspections for asbestos and other contaminants. And they typically, on a lot of our structures, they do the bids as well, as far as disconnect, connect, and they follow through the process through the EPA. This particular one here, I think Terracon was involved in looking at the building, but we did an RFP through our procurement process, and those were the bidders that come forward. And they meet.
I just always have had a concern about who's what. A lot of this you can't just leave it to a company and and trust them to do right. There has to be somebody in place who says, yeah, this is a good deal. And that was my question on that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Commissioner Howell.
I know this says tearing down the FBO, but it also includes tearing the FAA building too. That's right there beside the FBO.
I'm not sure if this includes that or not, if they're going to salvage that building or if it's coming down with this particular one.
Okay. Yeah. That's good.
Next question. Mr. Watkins?
To the point I was trying to get, so the document is 209 pages long. I'm not going to hold you. I hadn't read it. It's a $295,000 contract. how big is the structure and what else is involved in this process? Because both of those suggest that it's more than tearing down a small hangar.
No problem. If you don't mind identifying yourself and telling everybody who you are, and then answer that question if you can to the best of your ability.
Yes, my name is Heather Lowe. I am the interim airport.
Could you, excuse me, will you make sure that her microphone is on? Speak right into the microphone.
Is this better now?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. My name's Heather Lowe. I'm the interim airport manager at the Middle Georgia Regional Airport. I work with TBI Airport Management to help run the airport, so I can help answer some of these questions about this project. Now, I did come up to answer Commissioner Howell's question. The old FAA facility will be torn down as well as the current executive terminal. So they will both be torn down. They're in between the two World War II hangars.
But is this contract just for the FBO or both buildings?
Both buildings.
It is for both?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thanks.
And Commissioner Watkins, would you mind repeating your question and see if she can answer that one?
Yeah,
as well?
I guess with the length of the contract and the amount, it suggests to me, and I think the FAA building just got included, but what are we agreeing to here today?
They're tearing down the FAA building and the executive terminal. So that is what this project is, the demolition of the current executive terminal and the FAA building.
And the executive terminal is office space of, what, 2 floors?
It is. Mhm.
And the FAA building is the larger tower that guides the planes in?
No, that is a separate facility. That's a separate building. The FSS facility, that's what we called it. It's just 1 floor. I'm not sure how many square feet, but it's been vacant for a while at the airport.
And I guess could you elaborate a little bit on the overall timeline of what comes after this? Is there some environmental that Sheridan is also doing, or is it this purely the demolition?
There has not been an environmental, other than Terracon coming out and doing the asbestos testing and things of that nature, nothing additional as far as environmental.
Okay. So are they responsible for any of the after planning for the next phases in this, or is this, again, purely the demolition and then their job is done?
This is stage 1. Sheridan is only doing the demolition, and then the RFP will go out for everyone to bid on the design that we come up with. And that will come back at a later time. And we do expect some bonds, and there's financing options, but we'll talk about those depending on what the market is when we get there. But I suspect we'll probably be looking at early fall on that. Okay. At this time, I need a motion to approve. I'm sorry, Commissioner Lucas, you had a follow-up question?
What is this the special airport fund that
Yes,
the
this would be paid for.
industrial authority maintains?
Well, this is
Is
the
this
airport
coming out of
fund,
that?
and the funds will be coming directly out of that.
Okay, how much is in that fund now? Because I know several years ago there were, a couple of million in there?
I'm
It's
not
not
sure.
that much now?
It's a lot less,
Of
but they've done
course.
maintenance out there, yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a lot that's been done. So, somebody have an idea of how much is left in that airport fund?
I'd hate to guess, but I know it's less than $1 million. But I think that's, we have the FBO now, you're depositing funds in there, but we also have employees now at the FBO.
Yeah.
So, Ms.
Yeah.
Harris?
I'm sorry, there's a little confusion. This is from the county's airport fund, not the one that,
That's used at the
right,
airport?
not the industrial authorities.
Okay.
But it's part of the airport fund, and all these funds are coming directly out of the airport fund as opposed to our general fund.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank
Got a
you.
motion from Commissioner Howard. We have a second? Second from Commissioner Jones. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item C is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the issuance of a purchase order in amount of $174,210.97 to Shy International Corp. for the purchase of managed Aragus cloud services for the IT department to be paid from the general fund, information technology, GIS professional services, consultant fees line item. That is my motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Lucas. Questions regarding this item? Hear no questions. All those in favor of the motion, please say.
I'm sure there's some information on this, given the situation that we've been dealing with.
This was already in the works
County-
prior to that. So we had already started this process
What is,
a while back.
I mean, what is it? Because to us, these are just letters that don't quite make a word.
Okay. I'm not sure if one of the attorneys or our current IT director, Dr. Moffitt, wants to talk about the $174,000 for the cloud-based services that we've got. Speaking to that microphone, sir.
Apologies, Keith Moffitt, County Manager. Yes, this is a budgeted item in our GIS. That is part of, as it says, is taking our GIS function and
Speaking to that microphone, sir.
taking our GIS function and using a cloud-based service as a backup. That's exactly, we were already in the process of doing that prior to what happened in the last 3
Oh,
weeks.
that absolutely clarified it.
Say again?
I mean, that clarified it for me right there.
Okay,
So cloud services and GIS.
Yes.
thank you. At this time, I entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Wynn, second by Mayor Pro Tem Clark. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Item D is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor of Bibb County to enter into an intergovernmental ground lease with Macon-Bibb County Industrial Authority, and that's why they're here tonight, for the purpose of renewing the lease relating to Embraer hangar at the Middle Georgia Regional Airport. Tonight, we've got the Director of Industrial Authority, Mr. Stephen Adams, with us, as well as the Attorney, Mr. Kevin Brown. We're pleased to present a lease tonight that's going to last hopefully 15 years, which is a substantial years lease, 5, 5, and 5. On top of that, the negotiations in this lease went from $14,000 per month to $54,000 per month for rent there, which is good for us. And certainly it's good for the employees there to know that they got some long-term stability there. So I'll ask Director Adams, if you don't mind, come up here in case there's any questions on this project there. But most folks on here are familiar with the Embraer property there at the airport and what they do. But if you want to elaborate any further on that, I'm sure they would appreciate any additional information that you have.
Make sure I get this right. Thank you. You summed it up perfectly. We've been very fortunate, first, to have the support of this commission right here and the mayor. So thank you for doing that and allowing us to go out and do what we do. And coming off the heels of the announcement with First Quality last week, and this just so happens to be more or less right across the street with Embraer. But as you may recall, back in 2018, our Middle Georgia Regional Airport was in a very different place. And when Embraer came knocking, we were very excited about it, and we needed to prove to the aerospace market that we were open for business. And so we did enter into a short-term lease at the time that was really intended for them to establish operations here and to test the market. And so we're very proud to see that we went from a short-term 3-year lease that we are now moving into it's a 5-year with 2 5-year renewals for a total of a 15-year lease. This is instrumental. As you can imagine, it will significantly help with their workforce recruitment, making it very clear to potential employees that they're here to stay. And so we are very excited to renegotiate this lease to get them here longer at a much more valuable lease agreement to this organization. And we do also have an airport fund with the same name, and so it is a little bit confusing, but keep in mind that those dollars do stay at the airport as required by the FAA. So any dollars raised from these leases, and our fund has been developed just from the industrial leases that we've entered into on y'all's behalf. So happy to answer any questions, but this will take, you may recall also that the initial 2018 announcement was about for 100 jobs. This will get them to up to 200 with the ability to go up to 300. So we're very excited. We have built in some language into this lease that will also incentivize that growth and also benefit the county in the event that that employment increases. But happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We got a question from Commissioner Watkins.
Hey, do you know how much money is in your fund?
I don't have those numbers in front of me right now. I can tell you that with this lease agreement, just this lease by itself will be tripling. But we've also used those dollars and put them back into the airport. We've seen the first new construction since the 1980s with Dean Baldwin Painting. Some of our airport fund dollars did go into partnering with them to help with some preliminary site development, but I'd be happy to follow up and get you those numbers.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wynn?
That was the same question I have, how much you had in your fund, and then what are we using that money for? What are you using that money for?
Right now, it is purely to assist with industrial recruitment. In the event that there is the ability to partner with the private sector, we want to have those funds available to us to utilize. Again, those went into the incentive with Dean Baldwin Painting and the first new construction from an industrial client since the 1980s. So that's what we had in mind. And these rents that we are generating also are going to go back into the building. Several of these buildings that we maintain are hitting the end of its life cycles and requiring, in fact, this lease agreement, we are on the hook for a new roof. And that's where some of these dollars will be going back into is maintenance and repairs of the existing facilities here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Howell?
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. That's what I was going to say. Even though there's a lot going on at the airport, we've got a lot of buildings out there that are near the end of their life, and it needs some serious love, and it takes money to fix all that. So while I appreciate this, and this will certainly help, yeah, there's plenty of money that needs to be spent out there.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. Commissioner Lucas?
Yeah, I knew Mr. Howell was going to say something because he's just been chomping at the bit to have the airport in his district. And so it will be in your district with this new commission. So congratulations, take good care of it. But I want to compliment the Industrial Authority for all the work that they've done. It's been my privilege to be at a lot of groundbreakings and a lot of ribbon cuttings and events out there to see the progress in the community. And the most important thing has been the number of jobs that y'all have assisted in creating, and all of us have voted at one time or another for these different projects in support of what y'all do with the Industrial Authority. And I would just encourage our citizens to get themselves prepared to go into these jobs, because I hate to see all of those other county tags that where folks come in and take jobs that we as citizens are kind of underwriting and supporting. So I would just encourage the school system and others who are involved with developing our workforce to stick with it, including the chamber, who committed to doing some workforce development a couple of years ago. And I hope they're still committed to that, because there are a lot of folks who could be gainfully employed and should be in their own community. So I just wanted to congratulate y'all, compliment you for all that you've done over the years in the development of that airport especially.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. Commissioner Bailey, do you have a question?
Yes, and I must not let today pass without telling you thank you on behalf of the Veterans Depot, where you have made significant contributions to that particular home for our new veterans. For those that may not be familiar, the new veterans home is where the old Ramada Inn used to be off Harrison Road, and it will be serving our veterans from this point on. And thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Watkins, you had a follow-up, sir?
I'm just curious because we're talking about the reserve account or the savings account. And I see on the news all the time where the airline industry itself is not doing so well. But I guess is there a way that someone could follow up with data that shows what we've done just operationally over the last couple years? Because like I say, when I was looking over the budget, it looked like last year we might have put an extra $250 in for a transfer, which would lead me to believe that it was maybe $250 short. But again, I don't know that. It could have been for another reason. It could have been for capital. But is there a way that someone could make that determination for us?
I think we'll get Doug to look at that. It may be in the county manager's report, but if not, we can ask Doug to follow up with that.
Since January.
Yeah. So any other questions regarding this item here? At this time, entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Howell, a second by Commissioner Lucas. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Going to move on to item 5A. Item 5A is an ordinance of Macon-Bibb County Commission to amend various sections of Chapter 22, Macon-Bibb County Code of Ordinances so as to decrease the burden upon disabled persons to maintain their fee exemption on residential solid waste services. This is sponsored by Commissioner Bill Howell. And Commissioner Howell, you want to make a couple comments on that?
Sure. I know that there's 9 pages to this change, but basically the abbreviated version of it is we do offer not charging disabled folks for using for trash pickup. The problem we have is there's no way to go about this being automatically renewed. So when somebody is disabled and they get this waiver of the fees, they have to reapply for it every year. Not only is it a burden on them, but it's also a burden on the tax commissioner and more paperwork to keep for them to keep up with. This ordinance takes care of that, but it also, if the person that has the disability passes or sells the house or moves or whatever, there's provisions in here to cover that so that the taxes or the fee will go back on to that property once those folks are no longer living there. But it's just a savings for us at the tax commissioner's office, but it also helps our disabled constituents so they don't have to deal with this every year.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. I know Dr. Fickham gets a lot of calls on a weekly basis from those that are disabled, trying to navigate the paperwork, and he's been looking for someone to carry the water on this for a while, and I appreciate Commissioner Howell for doing that. So basically, it's a seamless process where it's automatically renewed for that disabled person to continue to do that, and they don't have to do any additional steps for that time. So at this time, I'll take that as a motion by Commissioner Howell. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Jones and others. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. I'm going to move on to item 6, which is supplemental appropriations. 6A, this is the ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize a supplemental appropriation amount of $300,000 from general fund balance to the Coliseum Auditorium Fund for the purpose of funding Coliseum and Convention Center roof repairs that are desperately needed. That is my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Wynn. Questions concerning this? Unfortunately, it's one of those maintenance expense that we don't have any other coverage for. We must keep those things in as much repair as we can until such time that we can spend some quality dollars either rehabbing or rebuilding them. So we do have a motion and second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item 7A is grants, a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the acceptance of a roadside enhancement and beautification council grant from the Georgia Department of Transportation in the amount of $47,843.46 for the beautification of Highway 247 on Avondale Mill Road interchange. This is something that was applied for, and we submitted it through Parks and Beautification through Michael Glisson, and then we'll be responsible for carrying out this award. We're excited about this award, and we had a couple more that we've applied for as well. Commissioner Watkins?
So, I mean, this is a good grant, and it helps with that picture that was just on the screen. I see that just in the middle of town in certain places. Mercer University, and as close as you get to Pinona, doesn't look too far different from that overhang. And there's some other, and I guess I'm curious, I would like for us to spend some time as we discuss this 2025 budget on how we can increase our capacity on maintaining those right-of-ways. They get quite out of hand like they are getting now, and it gets worse as the summer goes, and whatever crews that are working, they work very hard, and we seem like we're putting a lot of burden on them because I also know I'm responsible, and I'm sure others are, for having immediate needs based on constituents calling because stuff is getting out of control. So, like I said, I see this as a grant for $47,000, but if we can find a way for a couple $100,000 towards this effort, it would make our city look a lot more beautiful for all the new people coming in off our thoroughfares to attend parades and events at the amphitheater.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. This is a $47,000 grant that we need to accept, so at this time, entertain a motion for approval. Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Jones. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item B is the ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to accept a 2024 Local Maintenance and Improvement Supplemental Grant, LMIG, in the amount of $2.9 million roughly, with no local match. We talked about this before. This is the additional LMIG that the governor spoke about quite some time ago. This does not require a match on our behalf that we typically have to do. So this is something that we have to do to accept that. After we accept this amount, they'll be identifying a list of road projects that will be brought back to commission to fund those roads as well. But this will be done for appropriation. This is to accept the $2.908,642.50. At this time, I entertain a motion of approval to accept. Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Lucas. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. I have just one moment to consult with council. So Commissioners, we have an item that we seek to add to the agenda, and I'll just ask our attorney, McNeil, just to come forward just briefly, not to go too much in depth, but basically it's something procedural in nature that's required by the state to maintain our funds in a safe and secure account with the bank. So at this time, I ask Attorney Michael McNeil to give you a brief synopsis of this, and then after that, we'll be asking to motion to add this to the agenda.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. This is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing continued investments in the Georgia Fund 1 program of the State of Georgia Office of the State Treasurer and designating county representatives for the purpose of managing and viewing fund information. So the Georgia Fund 1 program is a state-run investment fund that the Office of the Treasurer maintains for local governments to invest money in a fund that maintains the highest possible credit rating and the lowest possible risk ratings by S&P and the other bond rating agencies and things like that. And so it's an investment fund. We have 4 accounts that are invested in that fund through Regions Bank. And Regions Bank recently had a change in the vice president level. And so because of that, we just need to change out the name of the authorized people that are allowed to manage that fund through our accounts at Regions Bank on behalf of the county to put the successor vice president in place of the former vice president. But because this is a state-managed fund, the state requires it's done by resolution. It's not something that the mayor or the finance department can just sign. And so it's really just a routine name change on the paperwork, but because it's through the state, they require a resolution.
Thank you, Attorney McNeil, for explaining that. The first motion will be to add it to the agenda, so this time I'll make a motion to add to the agenda. Do I get a second? Got a motion and a second. All those in favor of adding it to the agenda, please say aye. Opposed, nay. So now we'll discuss this particular item, and we're going to call that item 7C. Okay. Oh, maybe we'll label it in just a moment. So this is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing continued investments in the Georgia 1 program of the State of Georgia, Office of the State Treasurer, and designating county representatives for the purpose of managing and viewing fund information and for all of the lawful purposes. At this time, I entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Wynn. Have a second? Second by Commissioner Lucas. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Yes, ma'am.
The last item, I'd like to have my name added as a co-sponsor on this, since it's something that's, I mean, it's historic. We all need to have our names listed as co-sponsors. And the other one was the LMIG. And I would just strongly suggest that whenever we have an opportunity to have our names on as co-sponsors on LMIG and the grants that we receive and things like that, we don't want people to think there was just one person
Yes, ma'am.
operating county government. We all need to sign on to more things. So I'd just like to make that request.
Sure, we'll add you to that. Commissioner Jones?
Yes, sir. Not a challenge, but I'm just curious as to why you have to designate a specific person. It seems like you'd be designating that particular vice president because personnel is going to continue to change.
I think they have to sign off on things. It's just Go ahead, Attorney McNeil.
Just a curiosity question.
Yes, sir. So we have, there's 2 vice presidents and there's 2 assistant vice presidents at regions that are named on our account. And then
Okay.
there's 4 people in our county finance department internally that have access to view the information. But because the old vice president left, we have to take his name off so that he can't view the account information anymore. So they track it by the name and not by the
Take
title.
it by name, not by
Yes, sir.
position.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay,
Commissioner Watkins, you had a question, sir?
interesting.
No, not on this subject.
All right, well, we have no need to go into executive session, so this meeting is hereby adjourned, and we'll meet back at 6 o'clock.
Directly into it. 'Cause if you go over here, you lose it.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Macon-Bibb County Commission meeting. This is our regular scheduled meeting. The time is now 6 o'clock. Today is June the 4th, Tuesday, 2024. I'd like to welcome everyone here today. We have several items on the agenda and also some important presentations tonight. So those of you that can and will, please stand up. We have a prayer that will be led by Major Tony Williams of the Bibb County Sheriff's Department today, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So those of you who can and will, please stand and bow your head, and we'll hear the word.
Heavenly Father, we come before you this day, thanking you for your mercy, your kindness, and grace. Lord, I ask you to bless these leaders, bless them in their decision making. Bless them, Lord thy God, to aid, to help, to support, to grow this community. Let the love, the peace, the kindness, and grace of Jesus resonate through them, that others may see the outreach of the presence of the Lord thy God. Lord, pour out of your mercy, pour out of your truth, your kindness and grace. Keep us from harm and danger. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. This time we do have a special presentation, and I'll make that at the podium there. I would like for Ms. Kirsten Watkins, if she doesn't mind. She and her family can come forward to the front there, and we'll make this presentation. This is a certificate of recognition to Ms. Kirsten Watkins. This is on behalf of Macon-Bibb County. Congratulations on your first place win in the standing long jump competition during the 2024 GRPA Class A State Track Meet on April the 26th through the 27th, 2024. Signed by myself, Lester M. Miller, Mayor, on today's date, and along with our Commissioner, Mr. Virgil Watkins. So thank you, and I'd like to congratulate this young lady. Well, congratulations, Kirsten. I see a happy grandmother out there, too. I'm not sure why she didn't get up there, but I'm sure she got a great picture. And we need to bring her back often, because I've never seen Commissioner Watkins smile as much as he did in that picture. So I may need to bring her around a little bit more often. So thank you for being here. Congratulations. We know that's a great accomplishment, something we're all proud of, and we hope that you continue to do well. And we look forward in the future to giving you some more accolades that you deserve. So this time we're going to move on with our agenda. We have the approval of the minutes. This is the approval of the minutes from May the 7th, 2024, regular scheduled meeting. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Wynn. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Thank you very much. We do have several items on the consent agenda. I see Ms. Lucas feverishly looking through that item to see if she wants me to remove something out of it, so I will keep talking until she makes her decision. Items A through P. Going once, going twice. All right, time is expiring. So we have a consent agenda, items A through P, that was previously passed at our committee of the whole a couple weeks ago and earlier today. So at this time, I entertain a motion for approval of items A through P, including the item we added to the agenda at the committee of the whole. Motion by, that's Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Bailey. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. This concludes our regular scheduled business, but we do have at least one or two folks that signed up to speak. Miss Lydia Meredith, are you here tonight? You're undercover on me. I didn't recognize you with the glasses or the hat. All right. You good? We only charge a $25 fine for glasses and hats in here, so you can cash at me afterwards. So thank you for being here again tonight. You know the routine. This is a non-agenda item, so you're free to talk anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. This is concerning blight and public safety, and your time begins now.
Good evening, Commissioners and the Honorable Mayor, Lester Miller. My goal as an advocate is to push for quality of life for the city of Macon, specifically my neighborhood, Cherokee Heights. And right now, Tom Food Mart is an eyesore and a serious problem in our neighborhood. The Macon Violence Prevention Project was born from your heart, Mayor Miller, to address quality of life issues in this city. And as I address the Macon-Bibb Commission every first and third Tuesdays, I want to be relevant and seek solutions to improve public safety, blight, humane animal control, EMT responses, etc., and the movement of the MVP initiative and other initiatives that help challenges we see in our city. If the number of police or other Macon-Bibb staffers is not the problem to engender effective policing and adjudication, cleaner neighborhoods, attracting business and community development that's favorable to our neighborhoods, what is the problem? And how do we work together as a community to manage these issues more effectively? I want to suggest neighborhood planning meetings to develop a comprehensive plan to make Macon the preferred place to live in this region and do business, inviting all community actors to the table for the public good of our town. I would be grateful for your input and insights on proposed solutions to enhance the quality of life in Macon. And as the mayor, your perspective is invaluable in our efforts to make our city better for every citizen and every neighborhood. I also kindly request your support in organizing and facilitating neighborhood planning meetings, as your presence would guide and greatly contribute to the success of these initiatives to make Macon better. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Meredith. Thank you for being here tonight. Is Ms. Woods here tonight? Ms. Woods? Okay. Would you mind coming down? Someone can assist her, please. Mr. Howard. Sorry. Mr. Howard, you mind you or someone in your office helping assist her to the microphone, please? Ms. Woods, thank you for being here tonight, and you've got 3 to 5 minutes. We'll hear from you. I think you want to talk about disability, housing, family, and voting. You may begin.
I thank God for being here tonight, for being present in this meeting. I've been through a whole lot, but I've been through more than one meeting, and my meeting is about, I am a career mother, and I worked for Bibb County for 7 years. I was a bus driver, professional driver, bus monitor, special needed monitor. I resigned it. I lived in Macon housing. My disability, I won't talk about my disability because I wasn't disabled until I was in a car accident and I became disabled after I was in my car accident. A car hit me from behind, and I have a bad back. But I also just recently had eye surgery, um, cataract surgery, and glaucoma surgery. But my eyes is healing, so be patient with me. But my situation is this: I live in public housing most of half of my life, half of my children, my two sons. I moved out like 2010, hoping that I wouldn't have had no problem after they remodeled Tenterfield. I was a professional grabber, and I stayed in two shelters. I had left my sister's house, and I stayed in the house on Second Street. My gas bill was high, so I decided to move out because I said, well, I might as well try to go get me something that I can afford. So I went back and reapplied with Tenterfield. I never had this problem before. I'm 65 years old. I also worked with the Salvation Army off and on. I worked 2020, 2021, 2022. When I received, that's helping folks in need during Christmas season. But during the Christmas season, when my time came to be helped, I'm still standing here having received my apartment. I had received Section A through the Salvation Army. I was quoted that I would get help through the people at Macon Housing. They quoted to me that they will help me. Someone misplaced my paperwork, my application, and everything in 2022. They worked with me from 2023, coming back into the office, doing application, Section A paperwork. I had my Section A vouch. They misled my Section A vouch. 2024, the same old thing. They need to get an inspection paper. But all I'm saying, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be. I shouldn't even be going through this. I should have been placed in a public house or apartment, knowing that I'm out here working with other folk kids. I worked for Bill County 222. I went back to work. I worked in the lunchroom at Burdell and Hunt. Bill County always when I go to them for a job, they automatically let me come to work. And I took off my job with Bill County even though I'm disabled because of my eye surgery. And I want to talk about voting because I don't know what the rights is when you vote, but I feel like I have been voting half of my life when I really find out what voting was. And when I was on my job, I resigned from Bill County because I'm doing a professional job and just like now, look like everything just started coming against me and my son them. I have an older son, Harry H. Wood Jr. Quinn Barbara Wood is my son too. My oldest son been going through something with this system ever since before he even turned 40 years old. Someone placing my son way in a cook building in Middlesbrough. I ain't even had chance enough to even sit down and relax or open the Christmas present or go to church with my son them good in life. My oldest son just turned 40 years old. I have been talking and calling Mr. David and other people trying to get help for me and my son. My other son, Quinn Barbara Wood, is at LEC. I don't ask this for help. That somebody just appreciate the work that I have done for the city. Because I also work with the state fair. That's in the community job. I work with the Cherry Blossom up to 2022. So that's all I'm asking. Somebody pray for me. And I know Jesus is Lord. I try to do my job through Jesus because he don't let me make it this far with his love. Because like when we do have our sign out there for the Salvation Army, it said Jesus is the reason for the season. So all I'm asking is that somebody let Jesus be the reason for my season.
Thank you, Ms. Woods. Thank you for being here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our regular scheduled agenda, and this meeting is hereby adjourned.